In this video, we'll walk you through 50 actual CDL Air Brakes test questions, with detailed answers and explanations. Let's get started.
The application pressure gauge shows how much air pressure you A. Have in the air tanks, B. Have in a modulating control valve, C. Are applying to the brakes. As the name implies, the application pressure gauge indicates the amount of air pressure being applied to the brakes by the driver. The spring brakes used on the chambers in a straight truck will bring you to a stop when air pressure drops below psi A 20, B 100, C 60. The spring brakes used on the chambers of a straight truck and tractor will activate below 45 psi, usually in the 20 to 30 psi range. Some air brake systems have an alcohol evaporator. What may happen if you don't keep the proper level of alcohol? A. Ice may form on the brake drums and wear them out. B. Ice may form in the air brake valves and cause brake failure. C. The S-cam may not take back when you release the brake pedal. The purpose of an alcohol evaporator is to remove water from the air in the air brake system. Compressing air often causes condensation, so the water needs to be removed. Alcohol attracts moisture and transports it to the evaporator. Failure to remove the air can cause the water to freeze in the system. Your truck or bus has a dual air brake system. If a low pressure warning comes on for only one system, what should you do? A. Reduce your speed and test the remaining system while underway. B. Bring your vehicle to a complete stop right away and safely park. Continue only after the system is fixed. C. Reduce your speed and drive to nearest garage for repairs. Whenever the low air pressure warning is activated, safely come to a complete stop as soon as possible. Park the vehicle and seek service before proceeding. Why drain water from compressed air tanks? A. Water cools the compressor too much. B. Water can freeze in cold weather and cause brake failure. C. Water low boiling point reduces braking power. Compressing air often causes condensation to build up in the system. Failure to remove the air can cause the water to freeze in the system and result in brake failure and premature equipment wear. The safety valve is set automatically when pressure is A. 150, B. 100, C. 50. The primary air tank contains a safety relief valve to protect the air system from excessive pressure buildup. The safety relief valve typically activates at 150 psi. Your truck has a dual air system and one of the systems loses its pressure. What will happen? A. Either the front or back brake will not be fully operational. B. Brake drums will not be fully pressurized. C. The manual slack adjusters of the S-cam brakes will not be set properly. If one air system is very low on pressure, either the front or the rear brakes will not be operating fully. Parking or emergency brakes of trucks and buses can be legally held on by pressure. A. Air. B. Fluid. C. Spring. Since air pressure will eventually leak away with time, emergency brakes must be activated and held by mechanical force. All commercial trucks require emergency brakes. Currently, those are spring-loaded mechanical brakes. If your truck or bus has dual parking control valves, you can use pressure from a separate tank to A. Release the spring emergency/parking brakes to move a short distance. B. Balance the service brake system when you are parked. C. Stay parked twice as long without using up service air pressure. Parking and emergency brakes are currently spring-loaded mechanical brakes. The springs are held back by air pressure, so they are not activated when air pressure is present. When air pressure is removed, the springs move into place to activate the mechanical brakes. Pressure from a separate tank can be used to hold the springs back to move a short distance. If your truck has a properly functioning dual air brake system and minimum size air tanks, The air pressure should build up from 85 to 100 psi within how many seconds? A. 60, B. 30, C. 45. With a minimum-sized air tank and a dual air brake system, the system should increase pressure from 85 to 100 in about 45 seconds. How should you check that your service brakes are working properly? A. Park on level ground, chock the wheels, engage the parking brakes when you have the correct amount of air pressure to do so and shut the engine off. B. Park on slight grade, drain off air pressure, set parking brake and check to the movement. C. Park on level ground, wait until normal air pressure is reached, release the parking brake and move forward slowly at about 5 miles per hour. Then apply the brakes firmly. The process to verify normal service brake operation is to wait for normal operating air pressure and then release the parking brake. Move forward to about 5 miles per hour and then firmly apply the service brakes. A straight truck or bus air brake system should not leak at the rate of more than psi per minute with the engine off and the brakes released. A. 2, B. 1, C. 3. Assuming that the air system is at normal operating pressure and the engine is off, then release all brakes and wait for the air gauge to stop moving. Once stopped, begin timing for 1 minute and the gauge should not lose more than 2 psi for a single vehicle. During normal driving, spring brakes are usually held back by A. Spring pressure, B. Bolts or clamps, C. Air pressure. The springs are held back by air pressure, so they are not activated when air pressure is present. When air pressure is removed, the springs move into place to activate the mechanical brakes. The air compressor stops pumping air at what psi? A. 125, B. 100, C. 150. The air compressor governor will turn off the compressor at approximately 125 psi. The system also has a safety relief valve that will release pressure if it gets to 150 psi for any reason. The driver must be able to see a low air pressure warning which comes on before pressure in the service air tanks fall below psi. A. 80, B. 60, C. 40. Regulations dictate that a visible low air pressure warning indicator be activated and placed in full view of the operator when the pressure in the air supply system falls lower than 75 to 55 psi. Excessive use of the service brakes results in overheating, which can lead to A. Expansion of the brake drums, B. Proper adjustment of S-cam, C. Increase contact between the brake drums and linings. Excessive use of the service brakes results in overheating and leads to brake fade. Brake fade results from excessive heat causing chemical changes in the brake lining. This will reduce friction and cause expansion of the brake drums. The most common type of foundation brake found on heavy vehicles is the A. Wedge drum, B. S-cam drum, C. Disc. S-cam drums are the most common brake design used on foundation brakes for commercial vehicles. There will be one drum per wheel and operated by using an air-activated push rod to rotate an S-shaped cam to move the shoes into contact with the drums. Your truck or bus has a dual air brake system. If a low air pressure warning comes on for only one system, what should you do? A. Reduce your speed and test the remaining system while underway. B. Reduce your speed and drive to the nearest garage for repairs. C. Stop right away and safely park. Continue only after the system is fixed. The air brakes are the primary safety system of your vehicle. A dual air system divides the brakes into two systems, one front and one rear. This ensures that if one system fails, then at least you have one system to stop the vehicle safely and seek system service. Whenever the low air pressure warning is activated, safely come to a complete stop as soon as possible. Park the vehicle and seek service before proceeding. If a vehicle has an alcohol evaporator, every day during cold weather you should A. Check the oil for alcohol content. B. Check and fill the alcohol level. C. Change the alcohol from a bottle. As part of your daily operator's inspection of the vehicle, ensure that you drain any water from the primary air tank and top off the alcohol for the evaporator if equipped. The air loss rate for a straight truck or bus with the engine off and the brakes on should not be more than A. 1 psi in 30 seconds, B. 3 psi in 1 minute, C. 2 psi in 45 seconds. Assuming that the air system is at normal operating pressure and the engine is off, release all brakes and wait for the air gauge to stop moving. Once stopped, begin timing for 1 minute and the gauge should not lose more than 3 psi for a single vehicle or 4 psi for a combination vehicle.
Want to study with the full set of over 1,200 real CDL test questions? With CDL Study Buddy app, you'll have everything you need to ace the CDL exam. Study on the go with practice questions, answers, and explanations for all states and endorsements. The app will track questions you missed so you can review your weaknesses and quickly learn the material. Most importantly, users find that most of the questions in the app are actually on their exam. Download the CDL Study Buddy app today and ace your CDL exam.
The driver must be able to see a low air pressure warning which comes on before pressure in the service air tank falls below psi A. 60, B. 50, C. 80. Regulations dictate that a visible low air pressure warning indicator be activated and placed in full view of the operator when the pressure in the air supply system falls lower than 75 to 55 psi. The braking power of the spring brakes, A. depends on the service brakes being in adjustment, B. is not affected by the condition of the service brakes, C. increases when the service brakes are hot. The emergency/parking brakes are a mechanical system that is applied when air pressure is removed. Like any mechanical system, proper adjustment is key for the spring brakes to operate properly as emergency/parking brakes and to not interfere with service brake operation. The air brake lag distance at 55 miles per hour on dry pavement adds about feet. A. 32, B. 52, C. 12. Be aware of driving conditions and how they affect your ability to stop. Even under ideal driving conditions, air brake lag will result in an additional 32 feet of stopping distance when traveling 55 miles per hour for a total of more than 450 feet. Allow for additional stopping distance when conditions are less than ideal. Total stopping distance for air brakes is longer than for hydraulic brakes due to distance. A. Brake lag. B. Reaction. C. Effective braking. For automotive purposes, it is assumed that liquids cannot be compressed and thus depressing a brake pedal for a hydraulic system causes an almost immediate effect. By comparison, air can be compressed, plus the brake lines of a commercial truck are longer than a passenger vehicle, so there is a delay of about half a second between pressing the brake pedal and activation of the S-cam at the drums to begin braking. It is accepted that too much heat caused by using your brakes too often can also cause A. Brake linings to split up, B. Brake to fade or fail, C. Modulated control valve to wear out. Excessive use of the service brakes, like on downgrades in the mountains, results in overheating and leads to brake fade. Brake fade results from excessive heat causing chemical changes in the brake lining, which reduces friction and also causes expansion of the brake drums. Repeatedly partially increasing and pressing the brake pedal may result in A. No change of brake air pressure, B. A buildup of brake air pressure, C. A loss of brake air pressure. In an air brake system, the air is vented to the atmosphere when the pedal is released and the compressor is relied on to maintain the air pressure. Excessive pressing and releasing the pedal may cause more air to be released than the compressor can quickly replace. The brake system that applies and releases the brakes when the driver uses the brake pedal is the brake system. A. Service. B. Emergency. C. Parking. The system that stops the vehicle during normal braking as a response to pressing the brake pedal is the service brake, which is an air brake system. The emergency/parking brake is a mechanical spring-loaded system. A slack adjuster free play needs to be adjusted if it is more than about. When you pull hard on it, A. 1 inch, B. 1/4 inch, C. 1/2 inch. S-cam brakes use slack adjusters to position the pushrod going to the cam. Make sure the parking brake is released and pull each slack adjuster hard while wearing gloves. If it moves more than an inch, the adjuster needs to be tightened. An air brake system is fully charged at what psi? A. 75, B. 125, C. 100. The governor of most air systems will be set to turn the compressor off at 125 psi, which is fully charged. During operation, the system may be in the 100 psi area if driving in the city and using the brakes often. The brake pedal in an air brake system, A. is connected to slack adjusters by a series of rods and linkages. B. controls the air pressure applied to the brakes. C. controls the speed of the air compressor. The brake pedal of an air brake system controls a valve that controls the amount of air pressure that is applied to the brakes. Pressing hard results in greater air pressure, and releasing the pedal releases the pressure to the brakes. The S-cam, A. controls the airflow to each of the brake chambers. B. pulls the brake shoes away from the drum and allow the wheels to roll freely. C. forces the brake shoes against the inside of the brake drum. S-cam drums are the most common brake design used on foundation/service brakes for commercial vehicles. There will be one drum per wheel and they operate by using an air-activated push rod to rotate an S-shaped cam to move the shoes into contact with the drums. Under normal conditions, in order to engage the parking brakes, the driver should A. apply brakes by pulling the parking brake control knob out. B. turn off the engine. C. be sure air brake system is fully pressurized. Parking brakes are activated by removing the air that holds back the spring for the mechanical brake system. This is achieved by pulling the parking brake control knob out. Late model vehicles will have a diamond-shaped knob that is yellow. Earlier models usually have a round knob that is commonly blue but could be other colors. All air brake-equipped vehicles have A. an air usage gauge, B. a supply pressure gauge, C. a backup hydraulic system. The air supply pressure gauge allows the operator to know the status of air pressure in the tank or two gauges for dual tanks. 125 psi will typically be the fully charged pressure, although the actual operating pressure will likely be less than 125 psi. With air brake vehicles, the parking brake should be used A. as little as possible, B. only during pre-trip inspections, C. whenever you leave the vehicle unattended. The parking brake is a mechanical system that functions without air. If leaving the vehicle unattended, always activate the parking brake by pulling out the control knob. It is also acceptable to chock the wheels. If the air compressor should develop a leak, what keeps the air in the tanks? A. the one-way check valve. B. the tractor protection valve. C. the emergency relay valve. Regulations dictate that a one-way check valve be installed between the primary, first, air reservoir and the air compressor. In the event that the compressor should develop a leak, the one-way check valve will prevent air from leaking out of the reservoir back to the compressor. Which of these is not a proper time to apply the parking brakes? A. If you are going to test the parking brake to make sure that it holds the vehicle. B. If you will be stopping for only 1 hour. C. If the brakes are very hot, example, just after coming down a steep grade. If the brakes are overheated from a recent downgrade descent, or they are wet in freezing temperatures, use wheel chocks to block the wheels rather than activating the parking brake. Overheated brakes may damage the parking brakes, and wet freezing conditions may cause the parking brakes to freeze and lock up while you are away and prevent the truck from moving until they thaw. With air brake vehicles, the parking brakes should be used A. As little as possible. B. Any time when vehicle is parked. C. To hold your speed when going downhill. Any air brake system will eventually leak down when the engine is off, so the compressor isn't running. Always pull the parking brake control knob to activate the mechanical parking brakes when parked. Why should you drain water from compressed air tanks? A. Water can freeze in cold weather and cause brake failure. B. Water low boiling point reduces braking power. C. To keep from fouling the air compressor oil. Compressed air systems generate condensation inside the system. This water needs to be removed to avoid freezing and prevent corrosion. If the spring brakes are on, when should you push the brake pedal? A. Never. B. Only on a slippery road. C. Only when driving downhill. Activating both the mechanical spring brakes and the service brakes at the same time may damage either system. Once air pressure has normalized, press the parking brake control knob to release the spring brakes prior to pressing the brake pedal. To check the free play of manual slack adjusters of S-cam brakes, you should park on A. Level ground and apply the parking brakes, then apply service brakes. B. Level ground and drain off air pressure before checking the adjustment. C. Level ground, chock the wheels and release the parking brakes. Prior to manually checking the slack adjusters of the service brakes, ensure the vehicle is parked on a flat surface, wheel chocks have been placed, and the parking brakes are released. Excessive heat caused by using your brakes too often can also cause A. Brake to fade or fail. B. Modulated control valve to wear out. C. Brake linings to split up. Heavy service brake use causes overheating, which may then lead to brake fade or even brake failure. Stop to let the brakes cool if they begin to fade. If you must make an emergency stop, you should brake so you A. Use the handbrake first. B. Can steer and keep your vehicle in a straight line. C. Can steer hard while braking hard. In an emergency stop situation, use the controlled braking or stab braking method to brake so that your vehicle remains straight unless you need to turn. The use of brakes on a long and steep downgrade under normal conditions is only a supplement to A. Use of spring brakes. B. The braking effect of the engine. C. The use of the front brakes limiting valve. Commercial trucks are designed to use engine braking to control descent on long, steep downgrades. The service brakes should only be used to supplement engine braking. The most important thing to do when a low air pressure warning comes on is A. Upshift. B. Stop and safely park as soon as possible. C. Downshift. Whenever the low air pressure warning is activated, safely come to a complete stop as soon as possible. Park the vehicle and seek service before proceeding. The parking or emergency brake on a heavy vehicle can only be held in position by something that cannot leak away, like A. Air pressure. B. Hydraulic pressure. C. Spring pressure. Since air pressure will eventually leak away with time, emergency brakes must be activated and held by mechanical force. All commercial trucks require emergency brakes, and currently those are spring-loaded mechanical brakes. Air braking takes more time than hydraulic braking because A. Air brakes take more time to flow through the lines than hydraulic fluid. B. Air brakes use different brake drums. C. Air brakes require heavier return springs. When the brake pedal is pressed, there is a delay of approximately half a second before the brakes begin to apply. This delay is caused by additional compression of the air in the system combined with the long length of the brake lines. When brakes are applied, the brake shoes or pads will press against the A. Brake drum or disc, B. Slack adjuster, C. S-cam. The brake shoes will press against the brake drum, or the brake pads will compress the brake rotor on a disc brake system. The safety valve discharges automatically at the pressure of A. 100 psi, B. 150 psi, C. 50 psi. The primary air tank contains a safety relief valve to protect the air system from excessive pressure buildup. The safety relief valve typically activates at 150 psi. Stab braking. A. Press hard on brake pedal and apply the hand valve as you stop. B. Apply your brakes all the way. Release the brakes when wheels lock up. As soon as the wheels start rolling, apply the brakes fully again. C. Use light steady pressure on the brake pedal. Stab braking is one of two emergency braking techniques. Stab braking involves applying the brakes hard until the wheels lock up, then immediately releasing the brakes until they begin rolling once more. This process is then repeated. Be sure the wheels have started rolling again before applying the brakes again. If air pressure is not built up within the correct amount of time, then A. You should be ready to use your parking brakes to stop. B. Air pressure may drop to a low point while driving, requiring an emergency stop. C. The alcohol container may be low. Air brakes require adequate air pressure to operate. If air pressure cannot build up fast enough, you will eventually lose the ability to apply the service brakes, resulting in the need for emergency brakes. If air pressure testing fails, seek service before proceeding.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more CDL test prep content.